Hello and good evening, my little ones. How are you all doing? Well, it's been a really long time since we last met, so here we are, back again with yet another storytelling session by Mindseed Preschool and Daycare. And all of you, I'm sure you all know me now. My name is Shaily, and I'm going to be your storyteller for this evening. So, today we have a very, very, very beautiful story. It's something which is very close to my heart, and it always makes me smile every time I read it. And guess what? It's about somebody who's learning how to read. So, today's story is about Jeremiah who wants to learn to read. And let's find out what does he do to learn how to read. Shall we begin? Okay, then let's get ready to meet Jeremiah. And there we go. Say hello to Jeremiah. Ho 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 ho. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the storytelling session. I'm happy to meet you all. Well, that is Jeremiah. Now, when I heard the title of this story, even I thought he's going to be a young little reader just like all of you, my little ones. But guess what? Jeremiah wants to learn to read. So let's get going. All right. So Jeremiah, as we can see, has a lot of experience and he has seen a lot of things in his life and he has learned a lot of other things in life, different kinds of things like Jeremiah can build a fence outside the house. He can even cook. He can make some yummy buttermilk and he can also make some delicious pancake. That makes my mouth go watery. All right. So, while he can do all these things, but he still doesn't know how to read. Then when he also goes to the forest and he cuts the wood of the trees which have died so that he can make different kinds of furniture like chairs and tables for his little grandchildren. And he can also use the little bit of sap that comes out from the wood and make some really sugary syrups. But he cannot read words and letters, and that is something that he keeps thinking about. Whereas he is also he's also somebody who has a big farm near his house, and in that farm he grows lots of fruits and vegetables. They're very yummy and juicy. And in that farm he also is able to identify different kinds of animals that come around, with their footprints, and they form those tracks. And he can also see the different signs of the seasons when they change, and then he knows which crop to grow, or which animals would come, or what kind of insects will be going around in his farm. But he can't read. So then Jeremiah goes to his brother, who has this big tractor, and he loves to fix different kinds of machineries and, different kinds of cars. So he goes to his brother and he says, "Oh, dear brother, I wish to learn to read. This is something that I just don't know." And his brother says, "Oh, but you are so old, and why do you need to learn how to read? You have grandchildren, you have children of your own. I think you're just fine with the way you are." "Yes, but I don't know how to read. So why don't you go learn how to read?" Looks like the brother is not able to help him, but he still wants to read. What should he do? So then he goes back home that day and he goes and meets his wife, Juliana. Juliana is busy knitting a sweater for him. And he goes to his wife and says, "My dear Juliana, I wish to learn how to read, but I don't know who is going to help me." So Juliana thinks and she says, "But I think you are wonderful the way you are." "But I can be better than that." That's the spirit, isn't it? He still wants to be better than what he already is. While she thinks he's a wonderful man, that is actually such a wonderful man. He wants to do much better in his life from whatever he already does. She says, then why don't you learn how to read? Hmm. While Jeremiah is already getting some encouragement from his brother, from his wife. So then in the evening, he goes and he sits by the fireside and he starts talking to his dog who is out there. And he tells his dog that I really want to learn how to read, but I don't know what to do. And he keeps thinking, and even the dog just listens to him, and then he's just, putting his head down and trying to pat his master. But Jeremiah thinks, and then he goes off to sleep. And the next morning, he has a fresh new idea. And so, when he's up with a little bit of enthusiasm. And what he does is he quickly gets ready. He takes his bath, he combs his hair, brushes his mustache, he cleans his specs. He's all ready, he's washed his face. And now he goes off to the kitchen and makes some breakfast for himself and for Juliana. And then he also packs his own tiffin with some yummy, delicious tomato gravy and some cheese sandwiches. He kisses his wife goodbye and off he goes. And where do you think he would be going now? Have you any idea? Do you know where he would be going? Who do you think might help him? What would be that idea that he had in his mind last night? So, while Jeremiah leaves his home, he goes off and joins a bunch of kids who are going to school. And then he goes to their school and he goes up to the teacher, and that is Mrs. Trumbull. So he goes to Mrs. Trumbull and he says, Mrs. Trumbull, I wish to learn to read. Will you help me, please? Mrs. Trumbull knows who Jeremiah is. Everybody in that town knew who Jeremiah was. And she just smiles at him and she says, well, there is your empty seat. And my dear class, please welcome a new student. And with that, all the kids became friends of Jeremiah. They all learned together in the school, and then as school got over, they would sit under the tree and they would teach Jeremiah how to read letters and what sounds they made. And in return, Jeremiah would teach them different things. And things like making different animal sounds, or sometimes even teaching them how to cook different kinds of things. Like he taught some of his students how to make some applesauce or even whistle through their teeth. And that's how they both they both ended up exchanging different kinds of things with each other. So the kids helped him read words, and from words learning how to make sentences, and through that they enjoyed their classes in the school. And in the school, every time Mrs. Trumbull or the other kids read out some stories, Jeremiah would love to listen to all the stories or all the poems that they read. Sometimes he would even draw while they are reading. And then he would go back home and he would keep practicing. And as he learned how to read, he started writing different stories on his own. He started writing about how to save a baby squirrel or swimming in the river. He even wrote stories about meeting his wife. And that's when Juliana, as she observed him do all of these things, she asked him, when, my dear, are you going to read to me? And that's when Jeremiah said, when the time is right, I will soon read out a poem to you. And so he goes off to the school, and few days later, he picks up a book of poems for his wife. And then he goes home and keeps it under his pillow. And then at night, after dinner gets done, he goes and he reads some of these poems to his wife. And these poems were about the soft smell of the fragrances and petals of the flowers, and also about crashing waves of the river, and different poems on love. And while he was reading out to her, she looked at him and she was so mesmerized with all the way he was reading that she actually said, when will I learn to read now? And he says, well, first thing in the morning, just after breakfast. With that, we come to an end of our story. Isn't there such a beautiful story of how Jeremiah actually learned to read? Well, this story gives me a lot of encouragement and tells me that there is never a specific age when you want to learn. Yes, we do generally begin to learn when we are young, but even when we're much older, it is never too late to learn how to read or to do anything. So, I have a task for all of you. I want all of you to write in the comment section which storybook would you like to suggest to Jeremiah to read? Something that he would read out to his friends, the little friends that he made in school, or maybe to his relatives, or maybe even just to his wife or Nat. So, I would love to know more about the books that you all are reading and something that you would love to suggest to our very dear friend Jeremiah. That's all from my side. Thank you for listening. And I loved and enjoyed myself while I was telling you this story. Until next time, I will see you soon. Bye. Bye, kids.